My name is Curtis Daniel III, one of the two owners of Patchwerk Recording Studios, celebrating 27 years of business here in Atlanta. You're tuned in to Rolling Out, baby. All right, so for we're working on a documentary. It was to celebrate or commemorate our 25th year in business, and this year, actually, the last week in July, will make our 27th anniversary. So we were supposed to put this out a couple years ago, and we started. So it's 2022. That would have been 2020, but then COVID happened when we wanted to put it out. So we just kind of held it and kept chopping on it, and it was about a feeling, and I felt like it was appropriate time to put it out now. So we put out our first episode. It's on the Patchwerk Studios YouTube channel, and it's a story, about two kids from the patch or three kids from the patch that had a dream and went after it. And we there's some things in there that some stories and stuff that I wouldn't have never told, or they hadn't been told until then, and I was fine with them never being told. So it's a little challenging watching some of it where you hear people talk about how it used to be, and then hearing about or rethinking about, you probably really shouldn't be here with all the stuff that you had to go through and the obstacles that you had to overcome. It just makes you kind of really sit back, and it's almost like an emotional experience to sit there and hear people talk about your business, hear people talk about you, hear people talk about the impact that you had on them and the city and the culture. And I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, I really learned. I think one of the questions that they asked them was, "What was it like before Patchwork and afterwards?" And because I'm from California, obviously I wasn't here before we got here, and I didn't know what we really brought to the city. I just didn't know, and I thought I knew the impact that we had on the whole music industry, but the impact that these stories and what they telling, man, is crazy. You know what I mean? It's really, so we got employees, we got artists, we got producers, we got musicians, and it's just a whole bunch of different perspectives.
I apologize for sounding so green, but what is the patch?
So we're originally from Carson, California, which is in LA. We right next to Long Beach and in the South Bay. And in LA, in California, basically every neighborhood belongs to somebody. They Bloods or Crips or SAs or whatever. So our neighborhood is a Blood neighborhood. And prior to them building houses there, they used to just be cabbage patches. So it was a lot of fields and stuff. So our particular neighborhood, they go by CPG, or Cabbage Patch Gangsters. And that was before the doll. So we basically wanted to pay homage to our neighborhood by saying we putting in work for the patch, and so we came up with Patchwork. So we actually have a ton of footage from our elementary, our park, our high school, and people from California just telling the story. So it's interesting. You know what I mean?
You kind of mentioned at the end of your first answer about just kind of the impact this place has had on just music and the culture. I guess just how does that feel for you today in 2022 to know that you and your brother were so responsible for something so larger than yourself?
Well, he ain't my brother.
Oh, oh, sorry.
Yeah, but how do I feel about it? The impact. Um, it's I still, as we're putting out an episode every Friday at 8 a.m. and I go back and rewatch it, because even the whole time when we were shooting it, it's about 4 hours. The final version, we sat down and talked to about 20 people, and each person had about an hour and 15 minutes. And so when you making it, you just looking at it in different ways, and then when you put it all together, it's a different product. And I watched it, so many times, but I had never sat back and watched it. And I did I was speaking in my school at Michigan State, and they had these two 70-inch screen TVs, and that was the first time that I ever sat in the audience and watched it. And I was like, when it went off, I said, "Damn, we did a lot." I mean, you really don't. I don't know. I mean, it's like people that have kids. When you have a kid and the kid hadn't seen their grandmother in a year or two, the first thing they say is, "Oh, they got so big," and you as the parent looking at the kid and you ain't even noticing the growth because you're not seeing the little bit stuff or whatever. So for us, we literally been busy since 1995, doing 8 to 10 to 13 different sessions every single day from 10 a.m. till 5 o'clock in the morning. And so, yeah, you see it, you be like, oh, I see Sierra. I remember nobody knew her. We did her first album. Oh, I see Ludacris in the Fast and the Furious. Nobody knew him when he was coming. Nobody knew Jeezy. Nobody knew Jazzy. Nobody knew Tip. Nobody knew the Young Bloods. Nobody knew the Goody Mob. Nobody knew Pastor Troy. Like all these people, Polo the Don, Monica, you just see how big they are. And then when you count back and you think about how long you've been knowing them people, it's weird. You'd be like, damn, we did that in 1995. We did elevators. So when people like your age or high school people come in and do a tour, they don't even know who Outkast is now. You know what I mean? And so it's like we had to make a conscious effort to put the little babies, the Travis Scott, and the newer people on the wall because we didn't want to become a museum because we are still working with all these people. But just to sit back, man, it still hadn't. A lot of people that have seen stuff, and when I send it out, they congratulate us, and they say congratulations on 25 years, and I'll be like, actually, it's 27 because the documentary is called Patchwerk Recording Studios 25 Years of Excellence. But we at 27, and then they commence to start telling me, hey, I want to be on the documentary. Patchwork changed my life. This is where my career started. So we're going to have to go back and shoot some additional stuff that we'll probably use for social media, but it won't make the doc because it already been out. But to be blessed to be around because a lot of places that are celebrated aren't here anymore. So everybody talk about LaFace Records. I mean, they had like a 7, 8, 9, 10 year run. And when they was in the midst of the run, maybe they weren't appreciated like they should have. But now that they not here, everybody talk about when they worked at LaFace. Same thing for Noontime. Same thing for, DARP or Dallas Austin or these different labels. No Limit, Death Row. All these places had their impact was so huge. It seemed like they had been around for years. But when you look at it, it'd be like a 5 to 7 year run. And so for us to be around and me to be here the whole time for 27 years, I'd be joking with people, but I'd be like, man, I feel like I need an award.
Yeah.
Polo texted me the other day. He said, man, they need some type of recognition. The city of Atlanta, Patchwork is to Atlanta what the Hit Factory and Larrabee is to L.A. and what the Beatles studio is to wherever they from or whatever. And I get that, but that's not for me to say. It's for people to kind of look at it. And sometimes I do be thinking that it's going to be sad that, you know, it would take for us to disappear for us to get our flowers and roses and our recognition, and for people to actually kind of look back and be like, man, if it wasn't for Patchwork then, or like I tell people, you can just draw a line. I think Sean Paul mentions it. He said, go back and listen to the music that was coming out of Atlanta before Patchwork, and then listen to the music that came out afterwards, and sonically you can hear the difference. We brought something. We changed it. We helped change the city. I mean, we didn't get in the front until we got here.
No,
You know what I mean?
for sure, and exactly what you're saying. Like me, just being kind of from the metro area, and I know the kind of the significance of this place and stuff like that. So, my question, by the way, I was born in '95.
The guy that shot the documentary was born in '94.
Right, but there it is.
Yeah. That's the perspective,
Right.
right? So it's like to still be around and still be popping, and people come in here and be like, I was born in '95. Like you can to physically see
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's 25 years old that's grown
Mm-hmm.
and be like, man, I've been doing this before they was even born. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so I just remember moving up high school, like when everybody wanted to do because your dreams are kind of fresh, and so everybody wanted to be up at Patchwork, get an internship and learn how to work the knobs and engineer and learn how to produce and stuff like that. I saw it all the way up. But my question for you was going back to receiving recognition. I know at the BET Awards, Maul, a podcaster, he kept bringing up to everybody how Stevie Wonder hasn't received a Lifetime Achievement Award from BET, and how we needed to do that before Stevie left the world. And my question to you is, is there ever amount of kind of recognition or love that you receive from the people to where you don't need necessarily an official award, title, trophy, or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I've never needed it, which is why we probably hadn't got it because we hadn't seeked it out. You know what I mean? It's more. I got it out of this documentary because they gave it up. I wasn't in the room,
Right.
and they asked them what was the impact of Patchwerk. Then they asked about Bob, and then they asked about me, and actually, editing through and picking out the content with people talking about me was almost the most uncomfortable because I usually deflect that. Like I'd be like, "That's some BS. I don't want to hear that." But for to see people, grown men and grown women, look into the camera and talk about the impact and how I may be able to help them, even if it's not with the music, but with financial advice or just by us being two young black dudes. Bob was 23, I'm 21. They can model that behavior when they see it. And that's why I be telling people before we did what we was doing, it wasn't a whole bunch of studios. But when they saw two young black dudes doing it, they felt like that they can do it and it was attainable and they started doing it. So it's really, for me, I know what I know, and I always tell people I'm confident in what I know. And when I see something, I know what I see. It doesn't matter what somebody else says it says. So people don't have to tell me that they respect what we did and they honor what we did. I can see it when they emulate what we're doing. I know what was here before us, and I know what came after us, and I know who all came over here to look at our room, look at our floor plans, talk to me, have me talk to their architect, and help them build their studios and model it after us because they come back and tell me. I just brought the dude over and told him I want a room like Patchwork and all this stuff. So I'd rather have it that way, and then I get mine kind of like off camera where people will be like, "Do you remember this?" And I remember Polo was telling the story. He was in this room, and Mario, the singer, Mario was in here, and a couple other people. And I walked in. They had been here all night. I got in at 9:30. They had been here from 9 o'clock, and they was here when I got here. So when I walked in, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And I shook his hand and I introduced myself. And Polo was like, "Oh, you don't know Kurt?" And I was like, "Oh, I might have met him because we worked with him, but I ain't never meet him like that." And then he proceeded to tell a story. He was like, "Man, this the dude that kind of helped me get on. I didn't have no deal. I didn't have no money. And he believed in me, and he let me work in that big room, and it was the look. And I was bringing people in and making my stuff look bigger. He was like, Kurt, you remember that?" I said, "Nigga, I thought you forgot." I said, "Shit, do you remember?" You know what I mean? And it's been stories like that where people tell it. And then now I think when people see the documentary, they're going to call, text, email, leave comments, and talk about some of the things that we've been able to contribute. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So my question is, with that, like you said, like you feel that fulfillment from what the people have said on camera, behind camera, everything like that. My question is, what is the significance of having something physical, like like you said, City of Atlanta recognition of Patchwork and Studios Day, or a BET award, or a NAACP? Like, what is the importance of something like that?
That to me isn't important because there's so many people that got it and it don't mean shit to me. Not to me, but it doesn't mean anything. So I see where they give. I'm not gonna name anybody's name, but I didn't see where the city of Atlanta proclaimed this certain this day, and certain this day, and certain this day, and I'd be like, that's cool for the press release, but it doesn't mean anything. I think that for me, we get more recognition, and I feel better from real people that do real business. Because real people that do real business know how hard it is to celebrate 2 years. And so when they sit back and think about it, and sometimes I don't write the number, I won't put a two and a five or a two and a seven. I'll do Roman numerals: one, two, three, four, five, and stack them up like some banners at the top of the forum for the Lakers. You know what I mean? And let people see it. And sometimes when you see it like that, then you kind of get the impact. It's hard to be like our first client was Outcast and we did elevators because some people can't visualize that. But and then sometimes when you put a number, you see so many numbers, you just don't think about it. But when you literally just look at it and be like, man, it's lined up 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times. You know what I mean? It's big. It looks big. I think that's why the Super Bowl used them Roman numerals.
Yeah.
It looks big. So I like to kind of spell it out every once in a while. And, we're not doing anything. We planned on doing something big for the 25th, but we got hit with COVID and we had to cancel it and we hadn't done anything. So we'll gear back up, when we celebrate our 30th. You know what I mean? But just what you said off camera means more to me. The documentary is going to mean more because we put the people who normally say that stuff off camera on camera and let them give testimony so other people can witness it. Most of the stuff on there, I probably knew how the people felt because we had those conversations, but we never said it in a big setting in front of a bunch of people. So now, by those people doing it and people seeing it, it's going to spark a memory in other people who had a good experience, and they already been texting me like I got to tell my patchwork story, and it should create a feeling. It's going to evoke an emotion, and it's going to create a feeling in the city because we've been blessed to touch so many people in the city, and everybody got a story from here.
What is advice that you give to young black kids in Birmingham, Detroit, Cleveland, anywhere where they want to start up something like this in their own city and do this for their community?
One, I do free consultations, so call me. Two, don't let anybody kill your dreams and realize that your dreams are unique to you. And first, it may show up as a dream or a thought. It probably show up as a thought. Then it'll show up as a dream. And then your dream is just a roadmap of what you should be doing. Now you got to go out and do it. The thing that I tell young people is that, really the only really dream killer, in my opinion, is time. When you're young, you have time. And you don't have pressure of time because you may live with your parents and they still kind of taking care of you, giving you money. When you're in college, people still supporting you and giving you grace with your time. But the moment you graduate from college, the real clock start ticking. And if you can't wade water or just meet your bare minimums to survive, pay your rent, car, utilities, then something got to give. And normally it's your dream. And that's what kills a dream. So I always tell people, keep the dream, find something that doesn't take up all your time so that you can't work on your dream that'll help you maintain. That ain't the thing that's going to propel you, but that's the thing that's just maintaining. You always tell people the Girl Scouts want to go on a trip. They don't want to sell cookies, but the cookies finance the dream. So you got to find something that'll buy you time, that'll finance the dream, and then, you can execute the dream. So don't let it just be conscious that time is what's going to kill the dream because that time is going to put pressure on you. The parents going to be like, I know you want to do videos. I know you want to write and you want to rap, but you need to pay these bills and you need to go to work. And that's what's going to kill them dreams. So while you're young, take advantage of it, set your business up, and don't let anybody joke you out of or shame you out of chasing your dream because you can do it.
And now the basic questions. Favorite song that was ever recorded?
Man, please. Favorite song that was ever recorded here? Man, I hate when people do this when they be like name this or whatever. But I've tried to. We got a few playlists, and I wanted to do a playlist of all the songs that we done here, or try to make something. And the issue is, it wasn't doable because, just for instance, if I say, okay, well, I'm gonna put an Outkast song on here. Well, we might have did 5 Outkast albums. Which song I'm gonna use? If I go to Sierra, we did the whole album. What song I'm gonna choose? If we go to Goody Mob, we go to Ludacris, we go to Jeezy, we go to Tip, we go to Gucci. So it just got so overwhelming. I do like the Elevators, or no, Aquemini, or Aquemini. I like that album, the way it sounds, because Organized Noise was playing live instrumentation, and we were still recording on 2-inch reel. So the sound and the feel of that second Outkast album is what a representation of why people was coming to us for a particular sound and the feel. A favorite song, I couldn't give it to you, man.
I feel like to be safe, just for like,
Mhm.
I guess, I feel like you could say Elevate because it's like, one of the most iconic songs ever. Plus,
Mhm.
like you said, it's like the first one to really pop here. So I
Yeah,
think,
but see, and they did a video
right,
too.
right,
But that song isn't the most musical song on the album. It's kind of spacey. It's like bare, it's kind of spacey. There's other songs on there that's just like incredible. I remember when they was doing like Black Ice. I remember we was doing Cool Breeze album. They did Dirty South, and they was Kip was running around the studio, kept saying, "That's what the fuck is you, Dirty South." Um, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one of the most memorable moments was when and this is later because we had done so much, but I remember when it was so much anticipation for Jeezy's album, and we did the album and we did the listening party, and I just tell people you got to think back. Jeezy Street, Akon ain't Street. There's no affiliation. You wouldn't think they would work together. That sound of that song, Soul Survivor, had never been heard before. So when we in that back room with probably 250 people and all the label execs, and the song came on, and it was just like Akon and Young Jeezy. Everybody was looking around, and it was like, and the beat didn't come in. And when it dropped, we had brought in a whole PA system for the front of the room, extras. When it hit, you know what I mean, I'm rocking down. Like everybody was like, it was a man. You had to be there, and it was like when it went off, the way the song reverbs and then it echoes, and it was like everybody was quiet because everybody was like, "What the fuck did we just hear?" And then we was going through the album. We was moving through songs. It was all incredible. And when that song went off, it was just quiet, and somebody was like, "Play that shit again." And they hit it again, and it was, "You catch me when I'm rocking down the block." Man, it was crazy. There's a video out that it don't capture that moment, but it'll give you a feel of what it's like in the studio when they did No Hands. There's Waka Flocka, Roscoe, and Drummer Boy in here. You go, they got a challenge going around, so the video kind of making it. But if you look at it, you'll actually, I think that's the best visual representation that I've seen of what it's like to make a hit in the studio, because you see all these people in the room and people be looking, and it usually take a while for a song to get familiar. But when they sing that song, that hook, and then Waka, I mean that was a Wale, all that hitting them, it just hit, and they should have put that out as the video. But if you go on YouTube and look for it, you'll get a visual representation of what it's like. You know what I mean? And then I always laugh because we did the Move Bitch record with Ludacris, and I just think of all the different venues and places that I hear that is moving around the world. And a lot of records. And I remember one time we was out of the country. We was in Jamaica actually, and we went to a club. And I was with Bob at the time, and I literally just counted 15 records, and out of the 15 records that they played, we did 9 of them. And I looked at them, I said, "Man, that shit crazy. This shit done went around the world. We two kids from the patch, and this shit literally came out of this little building, is going around the world." So even now when I go to the airport, because I think Keisha's we did, Mayor Franklin, and then um, Andre. When you go to the airport, they say, "Welcome to Atlanta. This is your mayor, Andre." We recorded that here. We've always been recording those, and so you just be in different places where you and it's be like, I never say nothing because it make you look stupid. It make it look like you bragging if you out, and they be like, "Shorty Swing My Way, come on." You be like, "We did that record," and then you hear. The new Usher remix with the City Girls with Lathan record, and we did the original one. And then you see the people doing the challenges, and so it just be different records where you would sound like you lying if you be like, "Oh, we did that, we worked with them, we worked on that, we did that," and so you just sit back and kind of internalize it.
For Pharrell, he was talking. What reminded me of your kind of response to the elevators comment was Pharrell. He was talking about why he would never do a verses because he said if he does a verses, he's gonna play like 20 weird songs.
Hmm.
It's not gonna be 20 like the Snoop Dogg "Beautiful"
Yeah,
and "Number One" and all the songs with Kanye or Jay. It's gonna be like 20 weirdest
I
songs
agree.
because he loves those.
Whenever I make a playlist, I never choose singles or video songs. I like the other songs, you know, and so I can understand what he's saying. You know what I mean? Somebody else would have to do that for him because there may be certain things in certain songs that you like. Like I said, it's certain songs that if I go back to Sierra's first album, you know, that I like to hear. You know, and I like to hear because say like for instance, was it Goodies or it might have been the other album, but I know Missy wrote some songs, right? And 1 2 Step. Um, so they sent the demo to us, and I had to download it and give it to them. So I used to be in my office listening to 1 2 Step, but instead of Sierra, it was Missy singing it. And I was like, damn, that shit is crazy. Because Missy would be doing and then Sierra did everything she did, and it was a hit then. You be hearing Missy on there, I can make it for you, Mr. DJ. And it's Missy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's a trip where you be hearing these demos and the records, and I used to be like, man, I'm just gonna one day, I got records that people hadn't heard, and stuff that they hadn't done. I think when they was doing the Outcast documentary, Big Boy was up here, and I didn't say nothing. I just brought him in the room, and I had these records that they did, and I played them, and I played some of the beats, and he begged me for that stuff, and so I sent it to him. I said, all I want, Big Boy, is make sure you tell the story and give me credit for that beat that Organized Noise did because he's like, man, we can't even recreate that sound, and I want to use this for one of my albums. And so I got some stuff that's been, sitting around here that people hadn't heard that every once in a while when nobody's here, if I'm not feeling good about music or ever wondering why I fell in love with hip hop, I'll come in here and play some of that stuff and then refresh my spirit about the music industry.
Do you guys think you can do a versus with like another, like you said, one of those LA studios?
That's why I started doing the list because I'm a competitive person.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, I'm about to get me a list in case somebody want to challenge me.
Yeah.
And then I started working on it, and I was like, man, it's too hard to pick 20
you guys
records.
need to talk to Swiss and Tim about it because I feel like they're at a place where they've done a lot of artists, a lot of the larger artists. We're kind of like waiting for all those
Mhm.
contract and negotiations to be done. I think this is a great time to bring back producers, engineers, and
Yep, I thought that I enjoyed the songwriters like Sean Garrett and in the Dream and Babyface and them because it still had the surprise factor. I didn't know they did that. When you get with the artist, everything's predictable. You sitting there saying, "Oh, he gonna drop that song last, or this gonna be this."
when is this coming
Yeah,
out?
but when you discovering stuff because we don't have credits, and you like, man, I didn't know he wrote that record, or I didn't know Jonte Austin did all of this stuff. People didn't know. I already knew who Jonte was, and I was like, he probably gonna perceivably win because less people know about him and what he done. So everything that he play, they gonna be surprised that he did it. Whereas the other person they know that. So for us as a studio, we can dig in there and pull records out that you had no idea that we did, and it would be dope because then you would be watching the show wondering what's gonna come next. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who do you think? Just random question. Who do you think Missy could match up with?
I always said Missy and Buster should do it.
Mm.
That was it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Missy and Buster. That's it.
All right. Well, and then final question. I guess we did songs, we did individual uh, projects, and with project, I'll leave the thing. It could be with the moments, what I'm saying, like that time and place, or the impact of it afterwards, or just how it was being in it while they were creating it, anything like that. Favorite project.
Well, you know, we didn't do people, but I was a big fan of Regina Bell growing up. Everybody laughed at me, all these people we seen, but man, I was scared. I had so much respect for Regina Bell that I was scared to speak to her. She probably had been here 5 times before I got enough courage to introduce myself and tell her who I was. Because of the way she responded, it gave me the confidence to approach Patti LaBelle when she first came and tell her that I appreciate her and all this stuff. Then when we did, a lot of people may not know that Farrakhan plays the violin. When we did his album, he did a double album, and we were here. I sat next to him for 3 straight days, 10 hours a day, just talking. And he was telling me, I wish I could have recorded it. I can't even remember the stuff he was telling me. Except he was telling me I need to have a kid and have more kids. People like you that are responsible, that's educated, y'all need to be having kids instead of all these other people. And then he was telling me stories about Michael Jackson, about different people and all this stuff or whatever. And it was trip just seeing the security. And I remember, he was there and we offered him some water. And them FOI took all that water and brought out their own water. And I said, they on point. And then being from LA when Dr. Dre was here for a week. And, and just the respect and the homage that the city of Atlanta paid to him, that was dope. Where everybody came here and basically bowed down and was like, I'm here to learn something. And the way he handled it, because he had all the rooms and workstations set up and different people was working, and he would just go in and give people, he wouldn't critique stuff, he would give them positive feedback and direction as to what they may add or some things they can do. And that was dope. I met Jay-Z here, and that was funny because he came in for a Jeezy session. I think they was doing a show, and he came up here, and Jeezy asked me to come in the room to meet him. And, I was just I told the story, but I'd be wondering how popular people introduce themselves. Like, what are you going, I was sitting there when I went in there, I said, I guess he going to say his name is Sean, that's what I thought he was going to say, or Jay. And so I went in there, Jeezy was like, oh, that's my nigga Kurt, he this. I dap him up, and the nigga was like, Hove. I said, man, get the fuck out of here, man. This nigga call himself Hove or whatever. I'm thinking Jay, Sean, Jigga, Jay-Z. He's like, Hove. And I went back to the room. I said, man, get the fuck out of here. And, and then, I learned some lessons over the years when we were in our old facility. I remember we was doing some radio drops, so we had Junior Mafia coming. And I knew Lil' Kim was coming, and I had seen her on that album cover. She was the queen bee. I just thought she was a bee, and I didn't want to meet her. And I met her, and she was still to this day probably one of the 2 or 3 nicest people in the music industry that I've met in 27 years. And dealing with her and Tion from TLC, they taught me a lesson that the more popular or bigger the artist is, the nicer they seem to be because they realize that the fans have afforded them this lifestyle. The younger, up-and-coming people, those be the rude ones that walk by your office, don't speak, look at you crazy, don't know all the conversation, won't take a picture. And so those 2 women changed my perspective on artists. And usually the bigger they are, like I said, they realize that fans afford them their lifestyle, so they treat them accordingly. And, and then it was people that I wanted to see, like I said, I wanted to, I'm curious, right? So I'm never really in the studio, but, I'm like, nigga, Twisted can't rap that fast. So when I saw him on the schedule, I said, I'm going in there. It's got to be some type of trick. And he went in there and did it. And then I said, okay, he did it, but E40 can't rap like he be doing that stuff. And I went in there, E40 was laying on his stomach writing his rhymes. He stood up, and the voice came out the speakers. And then the other one, I just like, people don't know, Scarface be joking all day. But his voice is so big and serious. And so he threw me when he was banging on me, or he was talking about us. He just was joking. And then he got a voice when he joke, but then when he go in the booth, that Brad voice go away and this big old giant scarf. You ain't gotta add no effects to it. It just, it come out like that. And then, when Monica be singing, I be wanting to see if it's real, man. Like, I'm like, nigga, what and then I'd be like, or if they singing in the back of the room, it sounds the same. It's just projecting out of the speakers. And so, those are the sessions where, like when Snoop was here, I just be wanting to, like, I've been hearing it so long, I'll be like, man, go in there and do that shit you be doing on the records. Nigga, do that shit. And they, they come through. And those are the enjoyable moments when you realize your superheroes are really got superpowers. When they disappoint you, you be like, man, like I wasn't disappointed, but I thought Mac 10 was full size. Like, I thought he was big. And when I met him and shook his hand didn't fill up my hand. I said, damn, Mac 10, nigga, you little. You know what I mean? And so, like, those are weird. And then, I remember Lil Jon brought me his plaque. He was so happy. Jeezy and them brought me a plaque, just to say thank you because we was there from the beginning. And those are the things I think that the blessing is being around long enough to receive your blessings. Sometimes you do something and you gone and people can't find you to tell you thank you. Sometimes you do something for people and it's too early in the process and they don't even realize what you did for them, so they don't tell you thank you. But after they've been on and had a whole career, been around the world and done things, and it dealt with a whole bunch of people that didn't conduct business the way you did it, they come back and tell you how much they appreciate the way you handled their project and took care of business. And man, you was hard on us, but I respect the way you ran the studio. Can you come? Geez, he tried to get me to come run his studio, and I was like, man, I ain't doing that. But they say thank you in different ways. They may not come out and say it. They may tell a story. They may ask you to do something. They may tell somebody else that, hey, if you go there, whatever. And I give a nod to it. I know what they really saying. They saying, I respect you. I like the way you handle yourself, and I appreciate you. And anytime you need something, I'm there for you. You know what I mean?
All right, well, everybody, Patchwork's 25th anniversary out right now on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out.
Yep. Every Friday at 8 a.m. on the Patchwerk Recording Studios YouTube channel. And if you like what you're seeing, man, leave a comment, man. Feedback is a blessing.